The Dream House. Anne and Paul raised their champagne glasses. To our dream house, Paul toasted. The sun set behind the grand facade, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. They had worked so hard for this. The house with the white picket fence, the lush garden, and the sparkling blue pool. Finally, they felt rich. The first few months were a blur of joy. Barbecues by the pool, dinner parties in the spacious dining room, and quiet mornings on the porch. "Isn't it perfect?" Anne would say to friends, who gazed in admiration at every decorative detail. They felt on top of the world. Then the envelopes started to arrive. First, the property tax bill, with a number that made them both swallow hard. Then, the pool pump broke. "It's just the cost of owning something nice," Paul said, trying to reassure Anne and himself. But a small cloud of worry began to hang over the dream house. From the kitchen window, Anne saw her neighbor Charles. He lived in a smaller, rented house. That morning he was loading suitcases into his car, smiling and waving. "Another trip?" Anne muttered. Charles always seemed to be leaving for a new adventure. That night, Paul spread the bills across the table. "Most of our money," he said, his voice low, "is going into the house. The mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs. There's barely anything left for us to live on." The house, meant to be a symbol of freedom, was starting to feel like a cage. When their friends invited them on a trip to Peru, they had to say no. "With the roof repairs, it's just impossible," Anne explained, her heart sinking. Later, they saw the pictures online, majestic mountains, happy smiles. The dream house had never felt so isolating. One day, Paul ran into Charles in the yard. "You travel so much," Paul commented. Charles smiled. "I rent on purpose. The difference in what I'd spend on a house like yours. I invest. That money buys me the freedom to travel and run my little online business. My money works for me." That conversation changed everything. "We thought we were rich because we owned this house," Anne said to Paul. "But Charles, with his rented house and his travels, he's the one who's rich. Rich in time. Rich in freedom. The house wasn't an asset giving them money. It was a liability taking their life." The decision was difficult, but liberating. A for sale sign was staked into the perfect lawn. It wasn't a failure, but a redefinition of success. They started dreaming again, not of more rooms or a bigger pool, but of stamped passports and mornings without the weight of debt. Months later, in a cozy apartment, Anne and Paul sat on the floor, surrounded by a world map. They didn't have a dream house, but they were building a dream life. They had learned that true wealth isn't what you own, but the freedom you have to live.